the top two areas of continued improvement. I mean, and who doesn't think their sales team could be better? I haven't yet met the company that doesn't think that. And they're investing, they're putting their money where their mouths are. So the CEOs that we surveyed, talked to, said, yep, we are going to invest in sales, including channels, and marketing, and product development, and all the other areas. Now, what's interesting, when you graph those two things together, now we are all good Gartner students, and we know what the good up and to the right is the place to be. So, survey says when you combine sales, needs help, I'm going to invest in it. Number two, customer experience. So the message is getting through that you can't rely only upon how great your products are. You can't rely only upon development and product management and so on. You've got to be able to construct that winning experience as the road to build trust with your prospects and customers. So what would we advise you all to do as you walk out of here? What's your homework? And what other conversations can we have? First is, remember that innovation covers a pretty broad spectrum. So it's not just product and service. It is the experience that your customers have with you, with the company, and the experience that they can gain through understanding how your products and services are going to change their world. More importantly, not just change their world, but how they're going to find value and when they're going to find value. So driving that point home is incredibly important. The last point, investing in tools and technologies that improve sales effectiveness and get you farther along that path. There are really neat things out there. There are online POC environments. I talked about marketplaces. So the ability to put up a product and let somebody try it for nothing. Those are all neat technical things. On the sales side, there's account-based marketing, and there are neat tools that allow you to ferret out for the 8 to 14 people on the buying teams that you're trying to sell to. What are they doing? What sites did they look at? What did they last purchase? What are the indicators suggesting that they may want to do business with you? So there are plenty of technologies that you can look at and invest in that help you get to understanding how to deliver that experience. Arguably, there's almost no excuse for not understanding the elements that your prospects need to be delivered, need to be told to give them that great experience. Some of it is speaking to them in vertical terms. Other is, again, understanding what are the levers among those people on the buying team, what's going to make them tick, what's going to make them move. For marketing and sales, I guess the biggest thing that I would hammer home, other than metrics and paying attention and so on, is that it's a team sport. And I should have talked a little bit on that slide that had the up and to the right. It's an interesting disparity that says that sales investment is here, and marketing is here, and customer experience is here. That casts the wrong impression. I mean, these are all elements that you have to tackle together. In go-to-market, we talk about the connected model, and to me it sounds obvious, but your sales and your marketing, and your product marketing, and your product management folks have to be on the same page. They have to be working together. They have to communicate. The only way that you're going to convey this winning customer experience in which you're talking about getting to value and explaining vertically in terms of their business, in terms of their needs, and in terms of their tendencies as an organization is to make sure that everybody's on the same page and that each of those entities understands the key components. This is not the Wild West where salespeople go out and decide to promote whatever they want to promote. It's got to be in concert with marketing and the folks that understand the characteristics of the people that you're trying to sell to and what's going on in terms of ownership of the products and services you've already brought in. And as I said earlier, customer experience is a great lens to think of go-to-market. It's a wonderful way to summarize the value of each of the components of go-to-market, whether positioning, messaging, differentiation, channel enablement. All of those things are part of how your prospects and customers are going to get a great experience from you. And so those are things that we hope to work on, and hopefully we've given you a bunch of things to think about and several trends and data points to back that up. So with that, I will also show you that there is plenty of material to read and follow up on. You'll get this presentation, so don't worry about memorizing that. But within go-to-market, we're writing on all of these topics continually, and again, talking to your peers, so we're able to deliver that back to you. So I will thank you very much for listening to me. Hopefully I've given Ed Anderson enough time to show up. There he is, good. Now I know he had a 4 o'clock cart to get here. So thanks, David. Thanks.
Hello, everyone. You having a good day? Yeah, feel good? Good sessions? Good. Thank you all for being here. My name is Ed Anderson. I'm a research vice president who focuses on really cloud market dynamics. And I'm here to talk to you about a very interesting topic we call cloud shift. That is the shift in spending from traditional systems and services to cloud. And the title of my talk today is this fact or fiction? Spoiler alert, it's a fact. Spending is shifting to cloud. And what I want to do with you today is share a little bit of the data we have on this topic. It's a very interesting and complex topic. If you look at the cloud markets today, they're big and material. In fact, the growth that we have observed in the cloud markets over the past several years since we've been watching these markets is that we're seeing the markets double about every 4 years. And this year we expect spending to be at the rate of about 118 billion, see growing to 168 billion by 2018. So these are big markets, and the rate of growth really outpaces every other IT market. In fact, if you look at IT spending broadly and generally across all markets, you'll see that that number is enormous, right? $3.4 trillion, both a little tiny growth rate, right? Actually, I'll give you one of my daughter's jokes here, since we're at Disney. Right? How many of you have seen Aladdin? Right? The genie? The powers of the universe, the little tiny living space. That's kind of what these IT spending rates look like compared to cloud. They're enormous, but very slow growth. So effectively, the dynamic is that you're seeing, certainly new organic growth. People are doing new things, spending new money on cloud, but there's a dramatic shift occurring from spending that would have been directed towards traditional systems that is now directed towards cloud. So you as providers are clearly at kind of the apex of this issue. And for you, this represents either an opportunity or a risk. So what we'll spend a few minutes on today is this phenomenon of cloud shift, that shift of IT spending from old markets to new. I'm going to jump through these. First, I want to talk a little bit about the cloud markets and some of the dynamics we see there. First of all, as I mentioned, in 2016, we're anticipating and forecasting growth of about $118 billion this year. Now, just as a little side note, a little trivia point for you, we update these forecasts every quarter. And last quarter, when we forecast this market, we actually predicted $114 billion. So you can see even our forecasts are ramping up as we're seeing stronger performance than we originally forecast. Now, that forecast demonstrates a rate of growth of about 20% over a 5-year period. So think 5-year compound annual growth, which, as noted, is significantly higher than that 2.2% I showed you in IT spending generally. There are two segments of note in this cloud market, right? There are lots of different types of cloud services, but two that I want to point out. First is infrastructure as a service, growing at a whopping 32% compounded growth through 2020. If you pull back to 2015 and 2016, 2017, you're actually looking at annual growth rates closer to about 40%. And in some markets outside of the US, you'll see growth rates even higher than that. Software as a service anticipated to grow about 19% over that same period. A little bit smaller than infrastructure services, but still massive growth. So, as I mentioned, if you look at the progressive growth in the market over the next several years, As we forecast the total cloud market out through 2020, we're forecasting total market size of about $381 billion. Now, interestingly, if you compound that growth or compound that spending over the next 5 years, you're talking about aggregate spending over $1 trillion that will be shifted towards cloud. Is that material to any of your businesses? Mm-hmm. It is to Gartner's. But that obviously represents a huge opportunity. One last comparison. I mentioned some of the rates of spending, and I just wanted to kind of illustrate this. If you look at IT spending, about 2.2% growth over that 5-year period. Again, various types of cloud service will experience growth rates 4 times, 9 times, 10 times, and even 15 times the rate. So, as I've said, these are big changes and big shifts occurring. So the question I think to ask is, and particularly you as providers, where does this growth come from? When does that shift occur? And it's interesting because there's a lot of hype out in the market about cloud. Some of you may have heard of it. Some of you may have participated in it. But regardless, there are several key events that really drive this shift or this change. The first, of course, is the development of new systems and new applications. As I mentioned, a lot of this IT spending shift is the result of new things that people haven't been able to do before. We've seen this particularly in SMB markets where organizations may not have been able to sort of financially justify some solutions, but with cloud, it opens up that possibility. So things like ERP packages for SMB, or the use of cloud data centers for more extensive modeling or development activities because of the elastic and cost-effective nature, really opens up a lot of new opportunities and new solutions.